My wife, Connie, was just returning from her weekend with her lover. It started 6 months ago. At first, she would use a cover story about going to spend time with her mother, but in the last few months, she just left with no explanation at all. I was a bit too trusting, so I wasn't able to figure out what was going on for quite a while. Calvin Bostic was a friend of my wife's before I met her. After going together for several years, he decided to join the Air Force and left Connie behind. I picked her up on the rebound, married her, and we had 2 kids. Life was great for 23 years, and then it wasn't. Our son Robert had a job with the post office in Baltimore, and our daughter Dawn married and moved to Allentown. I had anticipated that life would get better as empty nesters, but I was wrong. I work for my Uncle Simon driving a gravel truck. It is hard work, but pays well. We drive 2 late model cars and have no credit card bills. We were planning to do some renovations on the house, even though it was underwater. When things started to get testy at home, I decided to do a little investigating. Connie's mother lived in Pottsville, but Connie was staying with Calvin in Frackville. Frackville isn't that big, so I had no trouble at all finding his house. It was a small rental in the older part of town. I stopped and talked with my mother-in-law and discovered that Connie had not been by in several weeks, and when she did stop in, it was just for an hour or so. "When were you going to tell me about your weekends with Calvin?" Connie set her overnight bag down and plopped onto the sofa. I couldn't tell if she was relieved or aggravated. Calvin retired from the Air Force last March and rented a house in Frackville. He got my phone number from my sister, and we have been getting together to reminisce about old times. "All weekend?" I asked. Doug, Calvin, and I had been lovers way before we were married. We have a connection. There is a compatibility and intimacy that you or I never had. It just feels natural to be with him. What you are saying is that the 2 of you are soulmates. Yes. I know it is a cliché, but it is true. And what about us? For 23 years, what kind of relationship did we have? I am sorry, Doug. We all have to make choices in life. When you can't get what you want, you have to select an alternative. When Calvin left, you were my alternative. 23 years and 2 kids, and I was just an alternative? Damn it, Doug. Don't be so dramatic. I was a good wife and a good mother. Now I want a little me time. Things were quiet for a few moments. Does he know you are married? Yes, and he understands. He knows that he was wrong to leave like he did, and he regrets it. He realizes that marrying you was something that I had to do, and he forgives me for it. What? He forgives you for marrying me. Are you nuts? Doug, relax. Why are you getting so upset? I am just a bit curious, Connie. Why didn't you just move in with him? He is having some legal problems right now. His ex-wife is suing for divorce and is demanding 48% of his Air Force retirement pay. He figures it is better if we keep our relationship low-key. Is he working? I asked. He is still transitioning. There is not much call for ground equipment technicians in the area, and he wants to stay here. So, Connie, what are your plans? I don't know. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I watched my wife pick up her overnight bag and go to the bedroom. I spent the night in the living room on the recliner. On Monday morning, after Connie went to work, I finalized everything. I started with banking and insurance. Closing accounts and canceling policies gave me a good jump on my exit bankroll. I had a $30,000 pre-approved home improvement loan. My '57 Chevy brought me almost 20 grand. I had another use for my Harley Fat Boy. I paid the penalty and cashed in my IRA. There were 4 CDs in the safety deposit box. Unfortunately, Uncle Simon did not have a retirement plan for me to draw on. I was planning a surprise 6-month cruise for our 25th wedding anniversary. Connie didn't know that I had been paying into it for 6 years. That was another $30,000 into the kitty. I had no trouble finding a buyer for my Snap-on tools. I cashed in my Krugerrands. The Riverside Public Housing Project looked the same as it did 25 years ago. Hector Cordetti, however, did not look the same. Hector and I grew up together. His mother was Dominican, and his father was Italian. He was bigger, hairier, and uglier than I remembered him. It was a great reunion. We finished off a six-pack, and I gave him a photo and all of the information I had on Calvin Bostic. His eyes lit up when I laid the title and keys to the fat boy in front of him. "Doug, it is too much. You don't have to bribe me for a favor. We know each other too well. I can do what you want for nothing." "That's not the point. I am leaving town and I need to find a home for it. You were the first guy I thought of. Use it, take care of it, and if you still have it when I return, you can give it back to me. In the meantime, if you need money or something, just sell the damn thing. Make it easy on yourself." "Okay, so I roughed this guy up a bit and put him in the hospital. Is that it? What if he doesn't get the message?" "I'd say wait a couple of months, and if he is still hooking up with Connie, pay him another visit. After 2 trips to the emergency room, he should get the point. The arrogant son of a blip does need an attitude adjustment." "When do you want it done?" "Wait for about 2 weeks." "And then what?" "I will be long gone. No phone, no mail, and no contact. Maybe I'll send you a Christmas card." It was good that we finished the beer, or I would have stayed all night. Connie was not home when I got there. I was planning on traveling light because my future living arrangements would be tight. Connie got her lifelong wish, so I was going to get mine also, a Nordic Tug 26. All men have dreams or aspirations. Mine was pretty simple, but until now, unattainable. There was no way in hell I was going to be able to convince her to live on a boat. Now, I didn't have to worry about it. The hardest part was finding one that I could afford to buy and still be able to live on it. The internet is a great place to shop. My son Robert had just got home from work when I arrived. He seemed surprised to see me, so I assumed that he hadn't talked to his mother recently. I gave him a quick rundown of the situation, being very careful not to badmouth Connie, but still telling him everything. He was not happy, of course, but understood. Robert was going to keep a few things safe for me while I was traveling, like my birth certificate and DD-214. He also agreed to function as a discreet contact point if I needed anything. I signed the truck title over to him and told him where to pick it up in Annapolis. He was still single, but had a steady girlfriend who he claimed had marriage potential. I spent the night there and we both left at the same time in the morning. I thought it was funny that my phone was on the whole time, but I never got a call from my wife. An hour later, I was having breakfast in Annapolis before heading to the marina. We spent the morning taking care of business. After lunch, I got a complete checkout on all operational and safety systems. I was glad that I got my Coast Guard BS&S certification earlier. Using the Yanmar Service Manual and the Marina Service Technician, I was able to put together an assortment of spare parts and additional tools that I might need. I had no intentions of becoming a qualified marine mechanic. I just wanted to know enough to get me to the next service facility if necessary. I got a complete set of ICW charts as well as listings of all the marinas on the East and Gulf coasts. One set for my Kindle and one set spiral-bound. The ladies in the marina office were more than happy to help me outfit my new kitchen and pantry. One small indulgence that I allowed myself was to get a small solar panel kit and a complete boat LCD lighting package. I felt that I could work on it at my leisure during slow days. Everything went smoothly. Robert's girlfriend drove him to the marina that evening. I gave them a tour of the tug and we had supper together. He drove the truck home with him. I was officially unencumbered. Early the next morning, I quietly left the marina with 75 gallons of fuel and 50 gallons of water. I had no plan and no destination. I had enough money to last me a year if I didn't waste it on fuel. Any serious mechanical problems would probably break me. I had no choice other than to go ahead with my fingers crossed. For the next 2 weeks, I familiarized myself with my new toy. I figured out how to get the best fuel consumption. I got comfortable with the instrumentation and electronics. Most of the marinas and waterfront restaurants had free Wi-Fi. I downloaded a ton of books to my Kindle and also completed several more of the Coast Guard courses, including the ones on safety and weather. I made a note to see about getting an onboard internet system in the future. I wasn't particularly going anywhere, but I found myself slowly moving south. It was getting close to the time for me to start my trip. I was a bit anxious, but also a little cautious. I had no experience, but I had nothing to lose. Go for it! I quickly found out that eating at the marinas or waterfront food places would put a big dent in my readies. I was going to have to learn some proper onboard cooking techniques and tricks. I downloaded a few more books. There was one section of the trip that looked as if it might be a problem with my limited fuel supply. I picked up a collapsible fuel bladder just in case I might need it. I stocked up the pantry. I had my nifty little solar panel system hooked up with a small, tucked-away lawnmower battery. It provided LCD lighting all over the boat and even gave me a nice little charging station for my phone and Kindle. I was leaving Honga River and headed toward Bloodworth Island when I spotted a young girl waving her arms frantically. She was standing in the back of a large white yacht that appeared to have run aground into the shrubby shoreline. Only the rear half of the boat was visible in the fading daylight. As I got closer, I noticed that it was a large Chris Craft yacht. Other than the awkward position it was in, it seemed to be in pristine shape. There were no running lights on or signs of life other than the girl waving her arms. I had forgotten about her for the moment as I got more interested in the boat. "Hello? Can't you help me out?" She was not as young as I originally thought, probably in her late 20s and wearing what looked like a cocktail dress. "Would you like me to radio or call for help?" "Heavens no. Whatever you do, don't call anyone. Can I take you somewhere?" By this time, the tug had drifted up to the side of the Chris Craft. I cut the motor and tied it on. "Yes, in a minute, but I have to do something first." "Did you run out of fuel?" "Maybe. I don't know. It just stopped running and drifted into the trees." "Where were you going?" "Nowhere in particular. Why all the questions?" "Just curious. What is it you need to do?" I asked. "Do you have any gas?" "Gasoline won't do you any good. It runs on diesel." "I know that. Do you have any or not?" I grabbed a 2-gallon can of non-leaded from the rear storage and handed it over the rails to her. She disappeared to the front of the boat and was back a few seconds later pouring the gas as she walked. I had a pretty good idea now of what she was going to do, so I discreetly loosened the tether line. She handed the empty can back as well as the flare gun kit from the helm. Holding her clutch, she straddled the rails and jumped onto the tug. "Permission to come aboard, sir?" I couldn't help smiling at macabre humor. As I cast off the line and started the engine, she opened the flare kit. I was backing the tug away as she loaded and fired directly into the rear of the boat. Amazingly, she got a direct hit the first time. There was no great explosion. It was sort of a slow-motion fire spreading from the stern to the prow. We were about 100 feet away when it became completely engulfed in flames. A short while later, there were 2 muffled detonations followed by a lot of smoke. By that time, night was setting in, and it was hard to see anything. "Hi, my name is Sky. What's yours?" 10 minutes later, after a brief introductory conversation, my new shipmate was fast asleep. While I was chatting away, she was drifting off. That was okay because I had to concentrate a bit trying to get back to the main channel. I had no idea what was going on, but I felt it might be important to put some distance between us and the smoldering hulk that was once a pristine cabin cruiser. Cruising at night is very relaxing, even though you do have to pay a bit more attention to what you are doing. I was a little keyed up at the time because of the circumstances, so the quiet time was relaxing but not sleep-inducing. I was able to throw a light blanket over my guest without waking her. She was not properly dressed for the situation. As the sun was coming up, I found a nice, quiet place to pull off of the channel. As soon had the coffee started perking, my guest stuck her head in the hatch. "Good morning, Doug. Sorry for dozing off last night. The coffee smells great. Where the hell are we? Where is the bathroom?" It appeared that she liked to chit-chat. I tossed her a t-shirt and a pair of sweatpants. Under the circumstances, it was the best that I could do. 5 minutes later, we were both comfortably settled on deck with a steaming brew. The shirt was a little big on her, but the sweats, which were too long, seemed to fit her hips pretty well. Well, Miss Sky, would you mind telling me what the hell is going on, or is it none of my business? It's Mrs., actually. Mrs. Daniel Cordell. I have only been married 6 weeks, and it looks like it is over already. I take it that that boat you left behind belonged to your husband. Yes, it was a glorious sight, wasn't it? I imagine that you had a pretty good reason for doing what you did. Absolutely. The channel traffic was slow, but it was pleasant just sitting quietly watching the ships go by. I refilled both of the mugs, and we sat for another few minutes without saying anything. I wanted to know more, but I didn't want to appear to be too nosy. I decided to let things unravel on their own. Doug, do you mind if I call my father? I don't want him to worry about me. No problem. I have some maintenance things to do. Take your time. Of course, most of the things that I had to do were a bit superficial. I did figure out exactly where we were and updated my fuel and water logs. It was a good 20 minutes later when my uninvited guest popped her head up. Doug, if you are not too busy, my father would like to have a word with you. Do you mind? She handed the cell to me and ducked back down below. Hello? A quite clever opening, I thought. Mr. Martin, my name is Franklin Graves. I am, of course, Sky's father. My daughter has gotten herself into a little jam, and I need to ask you a small favor. Go on. Would you be able to keep my little girl on board for a few days until I can straighten out some things? I will, of course, see to it that you are adequately compensated for the inconvenience. I am afraid that I have a very small boat, Mr. Graves. I don't think that she will be very comfortable. I don't want her to be comfortable, I want her to be safe. Safe? You don't even know me. How can leaving your daughter with a stranger be considered safe? It is the best alternative that I have. And besides, it is her idea, not mine. Sorry, not going to happen. I'll take her as far as Yorktown. Make some arrangements to have her picked up there. I'll call you back later this evening. Let me speak to Sky again, please. I spent the next hour trying to figure out why the name Franklin Graves sounded familiar, while my stowaway figured out how to use the compact shower. Of course, she used way too much water. I would have to talk to her about that. I was wondering what was taking her so long when she yelled up to me. Doug, brunch is ready. I wasn't expecting anything, so I was pleasantly surprised to see a plate of hot scrambled eggs and Spam. I was amazed that she was able to find her way around the galley so easily. It was pretty good. We didn't say much while we were eating. After a quick cleanup, we went back to the cockpit and settled down again with some fresh coffee. Why did you turn my father down, Doug? Very few people say no to my father. Your father doesn't know me, and I don't know you. I didn't feel comfortable with what he was proposing. I'd prefer to just drop you off someplace rather than get involved in something that is not my business. My father said the same thing, but I told him that I felt safe with you and would prefer to stay with you if it was possible. Why would you say something like that? I am a good judge of character. Okay. Tell me about your husband. Daniel was my father's choice. It was a mistake. I told my father it was a mistake and he didn't listen to me. Now I got myself in a bind and the only way out is to ask my father for help. Doug, I make a lot of mistakes. I hate to have to go to my father again. It is not fair for him. He tried his best to raise me to be responsible and I keep letting him down. I need help, but right now I also have to get out of this stupid situation. I pulled in all the lines and went to the helm. 5 minutes later, we were heading south at a leisurely pace. I got back into the channel and relaxed a bit, while Sky sat quietly in the cockpit. 2 hours later, I heard her cell chirp again. She handed it to me. Okay, Mr. Martin. I have no reason not to trust you with my daughter anymore. It took a couple of hours, but you checked out pretty well. Sorry about your marital problems, but it appears that you are handling it well. Can you be in Yorktown by tomorrow? It took a while to absorb what he was saying. I am not stupid or slow, but I am a bit cautious. Mr. Martin? Are you there, Mr. Martin? Yeah, I am still here. I just need a moment to think this all through. Take your time. Do you think you can be in Yorktown tomorrow? If so, tie up at the Wormley Creek Marina. I will have someone meet you there. If someone is going to meet us there, why can't she just leave with them? I don't quite understand. Mr. Martin, I assume you are on a planned trip down the coast. I don't want to disrupt your trip, but I would like you to take Sky with you for a week or so. Think of it as an interesting diversion. Mr. Graves, I am not equipped for a guest, and your daughter does not have the clothing or personal belongings for such a trip. That will all be taken care of tomorrow. Don't worry about it. Can I talk to my daughter, please? It was almost noon when we tied up at the Wormley Creek Marina. Our arrival was anticipated by a middle-aged man in a suit and a 20-ish looking female who appeared to be wearing some type of athletic clothing. Sky waved at the couple as we debarked. It was obvious that she knew the lady well. We joined them at an outside table overlooking the docks. Mr. Graves, my name is Marshall, and this is Miss Templeton. We will try and make our meeting as brief as possible. Why? I have all the time in the world. You don't have to rush on my account. Can I get a cold beer? I noticed that Sky sort of snickered when I said that. He opened the briefcase on the chair beside him and drew out several manila folders. I groaned a little when I saw them, and he noticed. Sorry, Mr. Graves. Just some minor formalities. I am afraid that I have to interrupt briefly, Miss Templeton announced. Sky and I have some things to take care of. We will be back in about an hour. Have fun, have lunch. We'll see you shortly. Take your time. Marshall seemed a bit flustered by her frivolousness, but I found it refreshing. Marshall covered a hell of a lot of crap in the next 30 minutes. New cell phones, special credit cards, and a nice little wad of cash. I balked a little when he presented the medical power of attorney forms. Since she was only going to be with me for a week or so, I didn't see the necessity of it. He emphasized that it was just a precaution and nothing to worry about. This was getting pretty deep, and I was starting to worry. With an exasperated sigh, I insisted on another beer and some lunch. He agreed. I found it very odd that I did not get any backstory or information about the situation other than what I already knew. Sky was an unhappy newlywed who had an argument with her husband and decided to run away from home. In the process of doing it, she successfully destroyed a $500,000 boat and thought nothing of it. Now her daddy wanted me to babysit her for what appears to be an indefinite period. I knew nothing about this girl, other than that she was a spoiled brat. Only a fool would even consider doing it. Marshall and I had finished our lunch and a few more brews when the girls returned. They had armloads of what I assumed to be appropriate clothing and quickly started stowing them in the cabin. That was when things got serious. In addition to the unlimited credit cards, Marshall revealed the amount of money that her father was willing to pay for my services and even had a special bank account set up in my name. A deposit would be made monthly as long as I was with her. What the hell happened to a week or so? Overnight somebody, not me, decided that this arrangement would be long range and did not even think that was important enough to discuss with me. Naturally, I was pissed off. Before I could properly vent my anger, Marshall showed me a copy of the first bank deposit. The amount was staggering, to say the least. As mad as I was, I could not refuse. Mr. Marshall, I don't want to sound unappreciative, but could you give me an idea of how long we are talking about? He just shrugged his shoulders. Marshall and Miss Templeton left shortly thereafter. I thought it was funny when Marshall stuck me with the lunch and bar bill. Hell, I had so much money now I didn't care. I got ready to cast off and looked over at my new ward. Lucy, you got a lot of explaining to do. She giggled at my bad Desi Arnaz accent. We left the marina and headed south to the channel, found a nice quiet cove, and settled in for the rest of the day. Neither of us was hungry, so we just snacked and sipped beer. Sky's family was filthy rich from real estate developments, very old money, and lots of it. Her husband Daniel came from new money, mostly from Wall Street. She didn't know too much about what his family did, but she did know that his family was wealthier than her father. She didn't know him that well, and it was almost an arranged marriage. I gave her a funny look when she said that, and she gave me a groan in return. Sky had only been married for 6 weeks when her husband decided that it would a nice gesture to share his wife with a few of his fraternity brothers. He decided that the Chris Craft would be a good venue for his party. Things didn't go as well as he planned. Her father was in the process of getting the marriage annulled. She found out from Miss Templeton that Daniel was furious. Not only had she embarrassed him in front of his fraternity brothers, but the yacht was the pride of the family, and he lost it. The family was mad at Daniel, and his friends were laughing at him. He publicly swore revenge at all costs, and that was why her father was as concerned as he was. It was not known what type of revenge he envisioned, but her father did not want to change anything. Things had gotten a bit cramped on the tug. A new body and a whole bunch of new clothing made a dent in the available storage space. What was once a comfortable place to live now became less so. Sky had some boating experience as she was growing up, so she was not completely useless. Together, we figured out the easiest and best way to get things done. I was amazed at how well we worked together. She readily assumed the tasks related to keeping the tug clean and neat while I concentrated on the mechanical and operation problems. She enjoyed planning meals and cooking. We set up a regular schedule for shopping and having laundry done at our refueling stations. Normally, I would not have spent the money on laundry service, but this was no longer normal, so we splurged. We were not covering many miles, but we were having a good time and enjoying the trip. I was living in the moment and enjoying it. All thoughts of my previous problems were rapidly fading, and then I made the mistake of deciding to call my son. "Robert, it's Dad. I just thought that I would let you know my status and see how things were going back home." "About time. It's been almost 3 months. What the hell have you been doing?" "Just cruising and snoozing. Everything is perfect on my end. What is happening in Pennsylvania?" "For starters, Mom is pissed off. You cleaned things out and set her up pretty well before you left. She called here several times and finally stopped when I convinced her that we had no idea where you were. She does know about the boat, however. There were some documents and papers inadvertently mailed to the old address, and she put 2 and 2 together pretty quickly. It was bound to come out sooner or later. What is she doing about it?" "Don't know. She and the bank have been going at it, though. It seems that between the mortgage and the home improvement loan, there is no way that she can keep up the payments. Hell, she can't even afford to pay the utility bills." "What is she going to do?" "She got a job at Target, but it doesn't pay enough, and it is not even 40 hours. She has been selling off stuff to make ends meet. Of course, your stuff went first. I should have grabbed those Snap-on tools, but I was too late. I figured her new boyfriend would be helping her out. That's a joke. From what I can figure out, even with his pension, he doesn't have enough to keep himself going, let alone her. Speaking about good old Calvin, he is really pissed off at you. In fact, I think he is trying to find you. Mom mentioned the word retribution. Oh, crap. I hadn't thought about that. He was supposed to be remorseful, not vengeful. If you are referring to the visit that Hector paid to him, I don't think it worked out as you guys had planned. Have you talked to Hector?" "No. What the hell are you talking about? Hector was just going to rough him up a bit." "Sorry, Dad, but it didn't end up that way. It seems that Calvin was a black belt in some type of martial arts technique. I assumed that Hector didn't know that, and Calvin ended up beating the shit out of him. Hector was lucky to get out of there with his skin." "Well, I hadn't planned on that happening. Anyhow, that is why Calvin is trying to find you. According to Mom, he is mad as hell and is going to make you pay dearly. I think he is trying to track your phone. I keep it turned off most of the time. Thanks for the update. I'll call you back in about 2 weeks. In the meantime, don't worry about me. I am fine." I terminated the call and saw that Sky was sitting and smiling at me. It was then that I realized that I hadn't mentioned that I had a shipmate to my son. "Gee, Doug, it looks like we have 2 pissed-off guys trying to track us down." "Daniel, too?" According to my dad, Daniel has taken an extended leave from work and is bound and determined to track me down and make me pay for my disrespect of him and his family. What the hell does his family have to do with it? Daniel feels that by destroying the Cordell yacht, I have insulted both him and his family. He has to get some sort of vengeance to save face. My dad is trying to find out more, but Daniel has disappeared. Is Daniel prone to violence? I asked. He has been arrested at least 3 times that I know of for assault, but his dad had all of the complaints taken care of before they went to trial. I feel like somebody just hung a target on both of our necks. Doug, I would enjoy a cold beer and a hot pizza tonight. Are we close to anywhere? 10 minutes later, we were underway. The pizza sounded good, but the beer sounded better. After living together in close quarters for several months, Sky and I had gotten a lot closer. It was a platonic relationship, but we were both comfortable with it. A 15-year difference in ages has a way of calming down a lot of healthy sexual urges. Oddly, the problem was never discussed. We just took our day-to-day companionship to be normal. We enjoyed our evening beers but never overindulged. It was more like a father-daughter relationship. I don't think either one of us considered it to be more than that. I was uncomfortable knowing that 2 men were trying to find us. Both of them seemed to have serious grievances, or at least thought they did. I was at a loss as to what to do, but felt that I had to do something. I made the first call to Sky's ex-husband. The annulment went through a month ago. Daniel, how is it going? This is Doug, the guy who took your wife from you. There was a quick string of expletives, followed by a short question. Where are you, you miserable son of a blip? I am going to find you sooner or later. Relax, Danny. I decided that it was time for us to meet. How soon can you get to Savannah? Tomorrow. Is that soon enough for you? I was thinking Saturday morning. That will give you a couple of days to get ready. I'll call tomorrow and let you know the time and place. I'll be waiting. I didn't bother to sign off. I just canceled the call. You're not going to meet him, are you? The man is mad and he is dangerous. He will probably bring a gun. Sky was seriously concerned, and I was moved. I am working on it. Let me check on some things and then make another call. A quick internet search gave me the information that I needed. Now to finish my plan. It wasn't hard to get Calvin's cell number. Calvin, my friend, this is Doug Graves. I got a new pair of dancing shoes and I am dying to try them out. Are you interested? You know damn well I am. Where the hell are you? You won't get away this time. I am not trying to get away. We need to talk. It appears that you need an attitude adjustment, and I am the man to do it. Your friend Hector tried that. How did that work out for him? Can you be in Savannah by Saturday morning? I am halfway there now. All right, meet me at 10 a.m. in the food court at the Fairway Mall. Come along, and most importantly, wear a red cap. What is it with the stupid cap? That's the deal. You wear the cap and I'll show up. No cap and you will never see me. If I am going to kick ass, I want to make sure it is the right one. You are a funny man. I will be there. You had a better show. Sky was giggling like crazy when I finished the call. You silly old man. You don't know any karate stuff, do you? You are going to get creamed. I just laughed and shrugged my shoulders. We relaxed, looked at the sunset, and shared a beer. Life was good. I made one more call before we hit the sack. Danny boy, it's Doug. I just thought I would give you a call to set up our meeting. It's Daniel, you asswipe. Nobody calls me Danny. I am getting close to the Georgia line. Where are we meeting? I will meet you Friday at 10 a.m. in the food court of the Fairway Mall. I will be wearing a red cap, and I will have my dancing shoes on. Why do I care about your shoes? Because I will be kicking your puny little ass. I didn't hear the rest, because I turned the phone off. All I heard was Sky giggling again. She sure did giggle a lot. A few hours later, we were safely berthed at the Freeport Marina. We took care of all of our normal maintenance stuff and had a great crab cake dinner. The skies were a bit ominous, so I was glad that we had reached a safe harbor. By the time we made it back to the boat, the squall line was almost upon us. We quickly double-checked all of our mooring lines and made sure everything was secured before we locked up for the night. I was still using the main berth, and Sky had been using one of the galley cots. A few hours later, the storm hit with a fury. The mix of lightning, thunder, and wind was a bit much for my stowaway, and I found her pushing her way into the bed with me. Neither of us said anything. The storm was gone by morning, and Sky was still sleeping softly beside me. I quietly got up, leaving her there. A half hour or so later, she came topside for some fresh coffee. Nothing was said about the evening sleeping arrangements. Since it was Friday, we decided to walk to the breakfast club for brunch. There was a short wait, but we were able to get a nice seat close to the TV at the end of the counter. It was just about 10:30 when the local news stations broke in with an announcement. There was a shooting this morning at the Fairway Mall. An unidentified man wearing a red hat was gunned down in the mall food court for no apparent reason. The shooter refused to drop his weapon, and he was then shot by the mall security police. Both men were pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities are attempting to identify them and determine the motive for the confrontation. It was a serious newscast, and I had to quickly pay our bill so we could get out of the restaurant. Sky had a hard time holding back. "You devious, dirty son of a blip! You planned that all along, didn't you?" She was giggling again. "Of course not. How could you think such a thing?" We spent the rest of the day relaxing and finishing off all the beer that we had. We slept together again that night, but nothing happened between us. Early the next morning, the tug was heading south while Sky was still sleeping. That afternoon, I decided to call Robert and check the status of things at home. After a few minutes of greeting chit-chat, I had to ask the important question. "How is your mother doing?" "She is mad as hell. Nothing seems to be going right for her. She can't pay her bills, and apparently she hasn't seen her boyfriend in over a week. He told her he had some business to attend to and just took off. She has finally made a deal with the bank. They are going to take the house back. On an up note, she signed and returned the divorce agreement. She seemed happy with that." "What divorce agreement? You didn't file for divorce?" "Hell no! Where and when would I have been able to do that? I have no idea what you are talking about." "All I know is that a guy came to the house with all the papers and a check for $20,000. She signed the papers, grabbed the check, and scooted him out the door. She thought that you had filed." Robert and I talked for a few more minutes about other things. He and his girlfriend were thinking about a Christmas wedding and wanted to know if I would be able to attend. I assured him that I would make every attempt, and at the last moment, asked him to make it a +1. I didn't know how long I would be with Sky, but just in case I wanted to be covered. Of course, I refused to answer any other questions that statement generated. I never did comment about my wife's missing boyfriend. I terminated the call just as Sky staggered topside. She needed coffee badly. We spent 2 days in Jacksonville. Sky was able to find out that her father had arranged for my divorce. When I questioned her about why he would do such a thing, she said because she asked him to. I had a hell of a lot of questions about the legality of the whole thing, but decided not to bring them up. I also had a lot of questions about why she would do what she did. There was never anything romantic between us. I had been extremely careful not to even cross that line in any fashion. Before I knew it, she trapped me with that old cliché conversation. Did I think she was pretty? Did I think she was too young for me? Was I too old for her? Was I ashamed to be seen with her? It went on and on. It seems that in the past couple of months, she had grown fond of me. Of course, I was completely taken with her, but never even considered pursuing it any further because of the age difference. For some reason, we had completely avoided any conversation of this nature before. Now I felt uncomfortable. That night, I slept in the galley. I had the coffee started when she came up in the morning. She did not look well rested. "Doug, I am sorry for making such a mess of everything. I thought that we were getting along pretty well, and I was hoping that if I nudged things a bit that we could get a little closer. I guess I overstepped a bit. I need to talk to your dad. Oh, crap. You're going to dump me, aren't you? I tried Doug. I really tried. Isn't there some way we could figure out how I could stay? That's not it, Sky. I don't want you to go. I just don't know how I can continue living on board with you without getting too involved. I enjoy your company. I enjoy being with you. It's the age thing, isn't it? I shrugged my shoulders and nodded in the affirmative. We already have gone further than I feel comfortable with. I am starting to feel like a dirty old man taking advantage of an innocent young girl. I don't want to feel that way, and I don't want your father looking at me that way. Doug, why do you think my father agreed to hurry up your divorce? I wanted to ask you about that. Why did he even do it at all? I sort of asked him if he could help in some way. I thought it would be important to you. I didn't know that he actually did anything until you mentioned it. I was hoping that you would feel less guilty about our relationship if the divorce went through. I think my father wants us to stay together. Why? I am way too old for you. You need a young, virile, healthy guy, not an old, worn-out codger. I think he is looking for a way out. I have been an undisciplined brat my whole life. I did nothing but cause grief for my father. He feels responsible for me. But I think he would rather pass the baton, so to speak, to somebody else. He thought that Daniel would be able to tame me a bit, but he was wrong. By the way, Daniel was his choice, not mine. He has never even met me. Sky pulled the English muffins out of the toaster oven. We sat for a few minutes while we watched the peanut butter melt into the hot nooks and crannies. The sky was clear, and it was going to be a beautiful day. Everything was at peace. I never tried to tame you. It only took 10 minutes for Sky's father to eliminate all my concerns about our relationship. He was enthusiastically relieved that I would even consider wanting to stay with her. Things seemed to be falling in place that I had not even planned for. The tug continued south at a nice steady pace. A bit more open water that I liked, but the little toot handled it well. Sky and I finally got to consummate our relationship in the biblical sense. I was amazed at my ability to hold up to the onslaught. Luckily, things leveled off a bit after 3 days, but she never let it rest completely. Robert told me that Connie had found out what happened to Calvin, and she was devastated. Under the circumstances, she realized that the money that she got from the divorce settlement would not last long. Since the divorce was not yet final, she was hoping to get some changes made. Thankfully, she still had no idea where I was or how to get in touch with me. My plan to leave was working better than I had anticipated. Sky and I were in no hurry to get anywhere, but we did get a text message from her father telling us to meet him in Fort Lauderdale the next Saturday. He even included GPS coordinates. We had plenty of time, so we didn't have to rush. I tried to find some clothes that I felt would be good enough to meet Sky's father and discovered that most of my original things no longer fit. It seems that over the last few months I lost quite a bit of weight. I was wearing shorts and swimming trunks with elastic waistbands most of the time, so I didn't notice the difference. We made a quick stop at Delray Beach, and Sky had a great time picking out everything that I might need. Of course, she got a few new things for herself also. We planned everything to the bottom and arrived at our destination right on time. My dockside lunch with Franklin Graves went far better than I had anticipated. Not only did he seem genuinely happy to meet me, but he was also greatly appreciative that I was able to form a bond with his daughter. All my anxieties were unmerited. Sky was surprisingly quiet and stayed close to my side. After lunch, he insisted that we take a walk through the marina. The chit-chat was light and casual, but I had the feeling that he had a specific destination in mind. Doug, what do you think of this one? We were standing in front of a brand new Nordic Tug 44. Everything about it was perfect. He was grinning like a cat as I checked it all out from the dock. Sky was holding my hand as I wandered toward the stern. Unlike my tug, this one had a name. I smiled and she squeezed my hand like crazy. We both stood looking at the Old English script across the back. The alternative. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.